Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to beat Radahn, and I'm just going to speed this little run up here a little bit. And on this occasion I'm going to show you me beating him with a fairly old build and talk about how I can have done this better. This is basically how to beat Radahn without actually having to fight him very much. So when you enter the arena, use the cover and use all these gold summoning signs to bring in allies. How many you'll get will depend on who you've met in the game. Most of these should be available to you. In a minute we'll get Blide and Patches. I'm just going to try and avoid those arrows. It's obviously not how to avoid them. This is the great sword you find in a wagon on the main road in Caelid. It's quite a good weapon, it's got reasonable reach, and it's got pretty decent two-handed physical damage negation when you block. So we'll summon Patches and Blide there. Now we need to get the Finger Maiden to come in and join the fight, and she's quite useful to have around because she has a heal. And what I'm basically trying to do is get Radahn to fight all of the minions who are appearing. Now he will kill some of these minions, but you'll find that they're pretty much a good few of them are resummonable in his second phase. So now we've done that, we're going to try and do a little bit of damage, because although they're quite tanky, the minions are, they don't deal quite as much damage as we like. You'll also find that Jerrin from the castle will only appear as a possible summon in the second phase. Now this is quite a slow way of dealing with Radahn. I did this when I was around about level 80, I think, or something. Now I've hit level 172. I found I've moved away from this build and I've gone for a Great Stars plus 25 for its poise and bleed damage. I've equipped it with Flames of the Red Mane for an area effect and for poise damage, and I've got the Dragon Communion seal and I'm using Rotten Breath with it. And in my next video I'll show you how well that works against Loretta, Knight of the Harlotry, because that becomes a really easy fight with that setup. So we've just summoned Jerrin there and we've dodged the fireball that Radahn becomes. That can be quite tricky. You need to try and see where it's coming from and be prepared to roll out of the way. Now, I find him in this phase is quite dangerous, so what I'm going to try and do is avoid him and get as many summons back in the game as possible, just to give him a bit of aggro, do a bit of damage, and create a bit of space for me to get in with my attacks. So we're going to run back up to the top of the hill, resummon Alexander. And I think we've got Blide still fighting there, and the Finger Maiden and another one. Again, they're not doing a lot of damage, they're just chipping away at him. But they're keeping him busy. So Blide's just died. Rolling to avoid the lightning, obviously. For this attack here, rolling again to avoid that. Try and get a couple of hits in. We've lost Jerrin and Alexander again there, but we're now getting the damage down. I've just seen a golden summon sign, so that means that's a character who I can resummon to help out. So we're going to bring Blide back in. Using these summons to help you out in this fight really does help. It definitely helps massively. But I tend to think with I've seen other people do it, and I'm going to try it in my new Game Plus, but I think Rotten Breath is going to be really strong against Radahn. And also, I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like using spamming Flames of the Red Mane to get that stagger on him, especially with all the summons helping out, is going to make this a significantly easier fight. you can try and roll out of the way of the meteors, but I find often they kind of land as you come out of the roll. So I tend to block those and roll for the lightning. But we're pretty much there now. One more good hit, and this will open up the pathway to an area in Limgrave that you need to enter underground. It's Noxstella Eternal City, through a great crater that appears after the meteors hit, and that will allow you to complete Rani's quest, because that's where you find the I think it's the Finger Slayer blade. It's an item that she asks you to go and fetch for her. And you will meet Blyde down in Noxstella again. I did this at around level 80, but if I'm honest, I don't think my build was particularly well optimised for it, and it was more difficult than it probably should have been. But it's definitely doable if you make good use of the gold summon signs and get all those NPCs in on the action. Once you've done this bit, don't forget to go back to Redmane Castle and do the double boss that appears after you speak to Jaren again for the item that gives you. It's well worth it. I think it's a talisman, but it's quite a useful one if memory serves. That's basically it. So, mainly try and avoid him, try and stay away from him, and get all your summons in on the action, and then while they're aggroing him, you go in for the damage. If you've got something that does a lot of damage, like the Rotten Breath, or you can hit him with some poise damage to stagger him, that's going to make it even easier. Hope it helped, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
A falling star right before our eyes. I can't fathom how Radahn was holding back something of that scale. He was a living legend if ever I saw one. And the path has now been cleared. To Nokra, where Rani's fate will be decided. Let's meet where the falling star bit the earth. We'll take up our swords once more for Mistress Rani.